We're live. What's going on, friends? It's your good pal SPJ here. Welcome to SPJ Live. It's been a bit of a week, hasn't it, for us guitar players? Just gonna say a few words about what happened, and we'll get on with the show with Blake from the Tone Mob. Of course, we're all reeling still from the passing of Eddie Van Halen from cancer on Tuesday? Yeah, at the age of 65. I have posted my tribute to Ed already, which you can find below in the show notes. And I don't really want to spend too much time talking about him here because I spent quite a bit of time in that video. So if you'd like to know my thoughts and basically everything that was going on in my head at that time in order to, understand where I come from and what Ed means to me, please do check out that video. I think that it is probably going to give you a better idea of what Ed meant to me rather than me trying to do it in a very short period of time. A couple little housekeeping things before we get the show rolling as well. Thank you all so much for joining in. If this is your first time being with us in the group doing this, that, and the other, we welcome you. We are so happy that you are here. If you want to let us know where you're watching from, please use the chat. Our moderators will be doing everything that they need to do in order to make sure that everything goes according to plan. We really only have one rule here on the channel and in the chat, and that's don't be a dick. Trust me, we don't want you here if you're going to be a dick. So, just don't even bother. But we're going to have ourselves a good time today. We're going to start kind of, getting ourselves back into the swing of things. I know we're all still feeling Ed's passing, but hey, if there's one thing that I take away from Ed's legacy, it's the fact that, music brings us joy. And so we should be doing exactly that. Other than that, I want to let you guys know and send a big thank you to the guys at Sinusoid because they have been sharing my Sliver Solderless video that I did for them in their recent email blast. The Sliver Solderless kits are back in stock, and you can use the code SPJ10 to get yourself a little discount, and that will help me out greatly. So, on to our guest. Let's do this thing. When I first met this guy, I found out he was from Portland, and after my experiences in Portland, which were very weird, it was very strange to find, like, oh my God, there's somebody from Portland, Oregon that's normal. And, well, our friendship is not exactly normal because we're not exactly normal. We're guitar players and very eclectic ones at that from time to time. So, my friends, I welcome Mr. Blake Wyland from the Tone Mob to the show. What's up,
Hello.
buddy?
I was going to say, normal. I don't know if that's the best descriptor of either of us, to be perfectly honest.
Maybe not. Maybe
my
not.
whole family is like, yeah, he's weird. I'm like, yeah, I am. I am.
You are. We all are. How you doing,
fine.
buddy?
Doing pretty good. I've had a productive day. Man, it's been great. We launched a big giveaway yesterday. Was it yesterday? The day before? I don't remember. Tuesday.
You launched it recently.
Yeah. Yes, Tuesday. To help out with people who were displaced by the fires and the firefighters themselves, and that is going extremely well. I'm very happy about it. So
very cool. Nice. And by the way, everybody, for those of you watching, don't know the giveaway. Afterwards, I'll get a link for that. We'll put it in the show notes. But as of right now, it's basically the only way you're going to get a brand new Benson amp right now because pre-order slots are already full.
Exactly. Yeah, it's the only way you can get one right now. It's a Nathan Jr. combo, which I helped coordinate a video shoot for, so I've heard it a lot. Really great amp. And for people who are watching right now, it's pedalraffle.com, so it's fairly easy to remember. And you can find all the details out there, and we're giving somebody a monster rig is what we're doing. So
yeah, there were tons of pedals. There was a pedal board. You get the Benson. You're doing one of those Squire Cyclones, which didn't you actually do a video on that recently?
I did. I got the guitar for the giveaway, and the guys at Fender were like, "Do you want us to send it to the winner?" I was like, "Actually, send it to me first. I want to do a video on it." So I did. I did a little demo / review, and yeah, it's a great guitar. I mean, not just great for the money. It's a great guitar. I'm very surprised. Like, we think of Squire and we think of the 90s Squires that you and I grew up, and they're fine. You know, they work. But they're actually a good guitar.
Yeah, they're nothing to write home about. And it's like, I don't know if you experienced this, because for those of you that don't know, Blake and I are roughly the same age, give or take a couple of years. But when I started playing, everybody got a black Squire Strat.
Yes.
That was the most popular first guitar.
Yeah.
See, I was the only guy with a non-Strat guitar in my grade. Like, every other guy I knew that played guitar in my class had a Squire Strat as his first guitar. So I was a bit of a snob, I guess, and had my my Epiphone with me, which to tie it into what happened this week with Ed passing away, which I marked up with Frankenstein stripes with Sharpies. So again, anybody wants to see a little bit of that and talking about that, I put that in my Van Halen tribute video for you guys to take a look at. That's anyway, that's neither here nor there. Well, that's good. I will agree, like the Squire stuff that's been coming out over the last few years, like we have the Classic Vibe Bass 6. Ooh. That's good. That's just good.
That thing looks cool. I really want to try the baritone they just came out with. Is it a baritone Telly? Yeah, it is. With P90.
I think it's a Cabronita baritone, technically, whatever.
Yeah, it looks super cool.
Yeah. It's funny because we even got into a little bit of this discussion. For those of you that don't know, Blake and I did record an episode of his podcast recently, which just went up this week, which is awesome. And thank you so much for letting me do that. I really do appreciate it. But we're kind of doing this to like piggyback off a lot of the conversation that in my mind that we had. We're doing it for that reason, because it seemed like we could have continued the conversation for hours. Despite us running in the same circles forever, we hardly get a chance to actually talk.
Yeah, no, I could have went on that all day, and it was just like. In fact, I think the episode did go just like a touch longer than normal, and then we did Patreon, so it went even longer. But I was like not really ready to cut it off. That's the problem. I used to just kind of let the episodes roll before I had the Patreon part. And so, I've got older episodes that are like 2 hours long or more. And I love that kind of stuff because I don't like cutting it at that mark if it still feels like we're rolling. But at the same time, now that Patreon's a thing, I got to respect the guests' time. Like, just because I can go all day doesn't mean that everybody else can.
Right. Yeah.
So I kind of have to make that cut right around then. But it's fun. And that's why some of the Patreon episodes are like even better, because you're all warmed up by that point. But I've had several people be like, man, I think that went way better than the normal episode. I'm like, well, that's why they pay for it. So it's fun.
That's true. Well, let's kind of back up a little bit. We'll get into some more of that discussion. But since you asked me about my story, and let's reverse the script on you and tell me your story, because I don't actually know.
Okay, well, my story is kind of weird, so...
So it fits that you live in Portland.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it works out. So let's see. I started from a way different place than you did, where you talked about you went to Musicians Institute with the idea that you were going to do something in the music industry, play guitar, all that stuff. So... for me, I was like, I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm not going to be in a touring band. I'm not going to do those things. It's just not in the cards for me. And I just went and did normal blue collar jobs. And that just was going to be my career path. I was a mechanic for several years. I ended up working in the oil industry. And that was just kind of what I thought. And then one day I was driving home. I sat in the parking lot of a Subway / convenience store. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, I've gotten the type of job that I've been trying to get for years, which was like a really good paying, blue collar type job. But it was like one of those ones that, everybody tries to get, like longshoring type, or, it was just a really good job. But I was like, everything still kind of sucks. Like, I'm not like outside of work. Life was great outside of work, but like I'd still wake up every day and I was just like, yeah, like I can't believe I'm going to do this. And I thought, well, you did this to yourself though. Like, everything that you've tried to do has led you to this point. So why don't you try to do something different? And I didn't know what that was going to entail, but it was like, what do you love? And I was like, I love guitar stuff. Let's try to figure out guitar stuff. And not too long after that, I posted my old 1965 Ampeg on Instagram, made my first Instagram post, really my first social media post of any kind. It was in 2015.
Okay.
I didn't have a Facebook page. I didn't have a Twitter. I didn't have any of that stuff. But I was like, Instagram kind of makes sense. You follow things you like on there. I kind of understood it. So I posted that, and like random people started liking stuff. This is back when you could have like organic reach. That was a thing.
Yeah. which is a whole in the weeds topic.
Yeah, exactly. And people started following me. I'm like, well, I don't know who any of these people are. What is, I was like just figuring it out. And basically started posting more gear stuff. I was resharing stuff a lot because I was at the job still. I would mix in my own things, but like it was a lot of resharing. Anyway, it got to where it was a fairly sizable account, and I was like, well, what other kind of content do I like? I like podcasts. I was listening to podcasts every day, and I was like, there's not really a guitar podcast that is 60 Cycle was already around, Chasing Tone was already around, but there wasn't an interview-based one at the time. So
okay.
I was just like, well, maybe I can do an interview-based one. And I'd already been talking back and forth with some pedal builders on Instagram. I ended up inviting Ryan McCaffrey from McCaffrey Audio, because we were joking about Hulk Hogan,
nice,
which is ironically a similar place where you started from.
I approve.
And I think I posted Hulk playing that, American flag Telecaster thing on 4th of July.
Yeah.
And so I was like, we were joking back and forth about it, and we were, quoting things from the Hulk's CD that he had out.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan and the Wrestling Boot Band or something like that.
I want to be a Hulkamaniac along with my family and friends. Yeah. It's great. It's really bad, but it's really awesome.
It's really bad, but it's so good.
Yes. So we were going back and forth on some of that, and I was like, this guy seems like fun. I'll ask him to be the first guest. And I had just found the app that you and I used. It was only mobile based at the time, and it's called Ringer.
Okay. Yeah.
It was brand new. And I was like, wow, this could actually work, because I had tested it and it gave decent quality audio, and I was able to record on my phone, like with headphones like this. And it's not the best. You can go back to the old episodes and hear like the quality is a lot worse than it is now, because I got a nice mic and stuff. But I could record at work, because I was at work all the time. And it was one of those jobs where, like, it sounds weird, but like you're either running around like a maniac and you don't even have time to sit down and eat lunch, or you were kind of just waiting for the clock to tick down and the other shift to tick over. You just had to be there in case something happened. Yeah. And so there was downtime where, my coworkers might be watching fail videos on YouTube, and I would sneak off to somewhere quietish and record a podcast episode. So
might as well. Yeah.
And so I did that for a long time, and eventually kind of found that I had a knack for social media, despite not really doing it. Like, and like I kind of inherently understood some things about it. And I started working with a few companies on running their accounts, and then like it just sort of like the things that I was naturally good at and naturally understood, I realized weren't as common as I thought they were. I thought everybody like kind of understood some of this stuff, and it turns out some people are willing to pay you money to help them with these things. And the podcast had started to generate a little bit of income, and I was able to leave after a few years of doing it. And I've just been trying to figure things out ever since.
Haven't we all? I just want to give a quick shout out now that you've kind of wrapped up that portion of the story to Mr. Ben Coombs. How you doing, buddy? Great to have you here. Ben is the moderator to the stars, as it were. Somehow he moderates for almost everybody's channel, and somehow I roped him into doing it on mine.
Nice.
I don't know how I managed to do that, but Ben, it's always great to have you here, buddy. Yeah, dude, I totally know what you mean about just like you start going back to the Instagram thing. First off, the fact that you started in 2015 is crazy. Like 2015, because we were talking the other day about like meeting in NAMM 2016. So it's like you were really a baby then. And at that point, like I had been in the business like already a long time as it was. It wasn't my first rodeo, so to speak. But yeah, wow, that's crazy. Like Instagram, you could still get, like you can to an extent still these days, get organic reach on there, but you know, organic reach is probably not going to be something that we're going to be able to do on many social platforms moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to be a thing on emerging platforms. Obviously, that's the whole reason why people go on TikTok, you know, is because I have done a little bit on TikTok, and I'm like, oh, this feels like Instagram 2015. Like with what you're able to do. Like, this feels exactly the same. I probably should like do more on there, but I think I'm just too old. I'm just like, I don't generally engage in platforms I don't like that well. I really like Instagram. I'm on there all the time.
Yeah.
I don't really like Twitter. I'm almost never on there.
Yeah.
So, and it shows. It's like, you know, there's X amount of followers on this platform and almost nothing on others because it's just where I spend my time.
Yeah.
But TikTok feels very much like that. LinkedIn, it's a different vibe, but it feels very much like that as well. Like you can still get out in front of a lot of people, but it's kind of a natural evolution of social platforms, right? They have to get users. And so how do they get users? Well, they get people to join, and they give them that positive feedback of the likes and the comments and the new follows and all that stuff. And it keeps them engaged. Then they tell their friends, I'm getting great engagement on this platform, and it grows and grows and grows to a point where now we can make money.
Yeah.
And they all do it. It's a recognizable pattern. It just is what it is. It's how these things work.
Yeah. And it's for what we do, you know, it's so like, I remember the day I got this. You just put a photo of that up, and it's just like, oh yeah, just let the likes roll in. Let the likes roll in. But then what you'll end up doing later on is you'll say, like, for example, I was watching a video that Phil McKnight did yesterday about like wanting to fix up one of these glary Stratocasters.
Right.
And it's like, I put up a video clip of me playing this guitar with like a bunch of different pedals, and it's like the reach that this gets versus the reach that this gets
right
is like, it's the exact same way of doing it. I'm not paying for anything. I'm not like, I do find though that the photos go farther than the video. And then sometimes that'll last for a couple weeks, and then the video will go farther than the photo. It's this ebb and flow and this up down that, having worked in social media and still having to maintain it for both this and other things, it's like, can't something just work forever?
Yeah, it never does. I remember my first like IGTV video I did. And I was like, this is it. I was like, this is the thing I'm gonna do now. Like it was, I don't even remember what it was, but it went crazy. And it was right when IGTV launched, you know, so they're pushing it really hard. And I was like, this is fantastic. I'm gonna be able to monetize this. I'm gonna be able to do this. This is gonna be wonderful. And Instagram, if you're listening, you should start letting your creators monetize like YouTube does by like figure it out. Like you already should have been able to do that by now. Anyway,
well,
hey,
if as long as we're requesting things of Instagram, I'd like to request the removal of the 10K followers swipe up in your stories BS, because if you have, that's one of those things. Like I think about the Baked Potato Jazz Club in LA, like that place. So that place is like world renowned. Musicians all over the place know that club, and the people that have played in this tiny little club in the valley, it's just insane. I could sit here for hours and talk about it, but they have moved with COVID to like doing live stream concerts where, you know, and you can buy online tickets, but they don't have 10,000 Instagram followers, so they can't like post in a link in the story to that night's concert by just swiping up. And it's like, but they've been around for years. It's such a great promotional tool. Like, why can't that just be something that you unlock when you have a business account?
That's a good question. It's one of those things where like that doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like I don't know why that would be a threshold you'd have to meet. The only thing I can think of that might make some sense is that I get a lot of spam. I get lots of spam, and there are a lot of spam accounts that like comment on celebrities' accounts, you know, be like, you won't believe what I did. Like, come look at my thing in my stories, you know. I could see it leading to some problems with that, and maybe that's the reason for it. Like, they figure somebody with 10K is either like, I don't know, spent enough time on the platform and generated it, and they're real, or I don't really know. That's just my theory. The thing that drives me the craziest is the very nebulous way they go about verification. So, like, it's kind of weird. Like, so I've seen artists and bands that are really small, like small enough that most people haven't heard of them, and you Google them and you can't find much, even if, you know, outside of their website.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, not any different than like you or I, like we, you know, we've spent a lot of time doing this. We've been on these platforms for a long time. And yeah, maybe there's not a news story on us, which is what they say is one of the things that they require, like, or not require, but it's a good benefit. If you can, like, they can find something where Time Magazine wrote something about you or whatever. But there's like, I'm like, but that's not true, because there are very small bands that are verified, and they're not necessarily verified from like some nebulous or some like you there's things like you can Google that say, pay us $50 and we'll get you verified on Instagram. Like, that's shady. It's not that. I've talked to some of these bands and people that have been on the show that were smaller but verified, and they're like, I don't know, my manager did it. And it's like, you gotta know somebody. I've submitted so many times to try to get verified, and I'm like, people listen to the show. I'm not like famous, but people do listen, and it's searchable. I've had famous people on. Like, why can't I get that little blue check? And the only reason I care is because there's a very obvious advantage to it when you look at the engagement that a blue checked account gets versus a non-blue checked account. It's pretty clear. Like, you can tell there's some favor with the old algorithms there. But
you can tell that Blake and I kind of have different nerdy things that we have to deal with.
Yes, I'm sorry, everyone.
on our daily lives. Another quick shout out here from Mr. Music Therapy Laz. How you doing, buddy? Just dropping in to give a like and say hey. Well, hey. Thanks for popping in for a bit, Laz. All right. Wow. This conversation has turned into some things that I wasn't anticipating it to turn into, but this is this is the interesting thing I feel about like seeing what you do and then compared to what I do, because you essentially have before you people a podcaster and a YouTuber. And something that Blake has done recently is on his YouTube channel for the Tone Mob, you set about a little challenge for yourself for the month of September to try to do 30 videos in 30 days. Which you admitted that you did not succeed in, which is fine because, you know, reasons like wildfires threatening your home and you know, all kinds of other reasons.
No internet.
No internet
because of fires. But
you know, just small little things that we all deal with on a daily basis made it hard to do. But I'm interested to know, after the experience, like, how did maybe your view on like content creation in the video world change a little bit? Did it kind of stay the same? Like you had already had something in your mind about how you thought it would go down? You know, just basically, what did the experience really teach you as a podcaster going from one medium to the next?
So basically, it didn't tell me anything new. I expected it to be really challenging. I was like, this is going to be very hard to do. What I didn't account for was the variability in the amount of time that it might take. So like some days I kind of thought in my head, I can probably do this on an average of 3 hours a day. Like what I'm trying to do, the length of videos I'm shooting for, I can probably do this in roughly 3 hours a day. If I have everything set up and don't change anything, I can probably pull that off, which was true sometimes. But I didn't account for the 6 and 8 hour days that were sprinkled in there when I just couldn't play the notes, or I would flub something up, or oh man, the camera was knocked askew and I didn't realize it.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, like sometimes those 3 hour days turned into 6, 8 hour days, and I don't have the time. I don't have the time to do that every day.
Can I ask you one thing? Did you ever have a moment where you shot something, you finished it, then you looked at the footage in post-production afterward, and it was just ever so slightly out of focus?
I didn't have that.
Okay.
But I did have like, that should be good. All right, cool. Get it all cut together and synced up, and then I went back and I'm like, what are you playing? Like that is out of tune, or you played the complete wrong note. Why did you think that was an okay? Like, you didn't do what you thought you did, clearly, because that is terrible, and you need to go reshoot that. So basically, I didn't have the out of focus thing happen, but the effect was exactly the same. I had to go back and redo it.
Yay!
Yeah. So basically, my expectations were met, and it was actually, I expected it to be hard, and I had already had a lot of respect for the amount of work that goes into YouTube, and it was even more amplified by that experience. It was like, oh, this is worse than I thought, and I thought it was going to be bad.
I thought it was going to be bad. It ended up being worse.
Yes.
Oh, that's amazing. Another shout out from Mr. Aaron Albus Band. How you doing, buddy? Hope the Wonder Twins are doing great. Another regular viewer here in SPJ Live. For those of you tuning in for the first time, welcome. We're here with Mr. Blake Wyland, Mr. Famous Guy over here with Tone Mob, chasing Tone and all kinds of other stuff. So if you're joining us for the first time, please do interact. Let us know where you are watching from in the chat. And we only have one rule in the chat. Don't be a dick. It's a pretty simple one to live by. Oh, man.
Should be in life as well.
Yeah, it really should be in life, for real. So we kind of got into a little bit of, you know, more nerdy guitar talk on the Patreon portion of our episode that we recorded together. And I kind of wanted to get into a little bit of weeds on that, because we were talking about how strange it's been that 2020 has been a pretty great gear year.
Mm-hmm.
It's not been a great year, but it's been a great gear year.
Yeah, it's been great for the industry in a weird way. Like we've talked about, most of the companies that I work with are doing pretty good. They're doing at least as good as they were before, if not better. Fender was in, I think it was the Wall Street Journal. Fender was in where they sold more guitars in 2020 than they ever have in the history of the company.
That's insane.
Taylor Guitars is backed up. I seen a comment from don't take this as official stuff, people. That Wall Street Journal piece or New York Times or whatever it was, you can Google that one. But I did see a employee of Taylor Guitars posted in one of the gear forums that they claimed that Taylor was backed up on baby Taylors till 2022.
Wow.
Yeah. So guitar companies have done fairly well to amazing this year, which is not at all what I expected. Not at all.
Yeah, for real. I definitely it seems like the vibe overall at the NAMM shows the last couple years has been really good. But then what ends up happening, of course, is like the year rolls on and things get delayed and some things get pushed back. But then, of course, we have COVID this year to contend with, and it's just kind of assumed that, it's just going to be a kind of a nail in the coffin, if you will, for a lot of people. And for some companies, it definitely was detrimental. But in other cases, and I'll even, highlight something that Aaron is saying, Chase Bliss is steamrolling 2020. Just a little inside baseball for you guys right now. Joel and I email from time to time, and for a while we were talking about possibly having him here on the live stream to just kind of talk about how things have been going. But I happened to catch him at a moment where they hired 3 new people literally days before I asked him if he'd want to come on the show. And we're starting to see a little bit of that with their new video series coming out and saying like, hey, like we're hiring new people, the company's growing and we're doing these things. And of course, this big honking pedal that most everybody was like, nobody's going to pay $750 for a pedal. It seems like there's no way they're keeping these in stock. And anytime they get to a dealer, they're gone in an instant.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we haven't even gotten to CXM 1978 yet.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure that's half the reason they hired on a bunch of new people.
Probably so. Yeah, Joel came on the show, it'd been a while. He'd kind of settled into a groove like after he hired those people, maybe 2 months later or something. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about that, and it's like the other thing is like the companies are doing well, and that's what we're kind of talking about here. But there's also this thing where people don't understand, like, by Joel hiring the people he hired, he grew his workforce by like 50%.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and what I've tried to explain to people over the years of like getting to see more of this behind the scenes stuff is that your average medium-sized plumbing company that's local to your area is bigger than 90% of the gear companies that you buy stuff from.
Yeah.
Like, they're still very small businesses. So when we say that they're crushing it and they're doing well, it's like they are, but they're still a very small company.
Yeah, they're doing it with a very slim workforce.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a little while back we had Cody from Westminster Effects on the show. And, I've heard of Westminster, and they run in the P-dubs circles, of course. And it was kind of crazy to me to think like it's just him building everything,
mm-hmm.
With a little bit of help here and there, but it's mostly him. And their presence is pretty, I was aware of them before I even knew their products. I just had heard the name, and now all of a sudden it's like, okay, they're kind of starting to get a little thing about them. So it's what you're saying is definitely true. The big local plumbing company is much bigger than most pedal companies. I do want to highlight another shout out we got from Christo P. Hey, from Australia, guys, enjoying the show. Tone Mob podcast and Chasing Tone are definitely my go-to podcast. Ooh. Also, fave pizza, pepperoni. Fave boss pedal, Dimension C. Thanks again.
Man. Thanks, Christo.
That's awesome, Christo. I love that. Yeah. Ooh,
nice,
man.
I love that.
Got me thinking about pizza now. Dang it.
I know. I haven't had dinner yet. I'm ready.
Yeah. I went to a Whole Foods today, and like they brought back, like, it's one of those larger Whole Foods, so they have like the hot food area. They brought the pizza oven back into play recently, and they do big slices for their takeaway food. So yeah, I avoided it. Everybody. I can't.
Wow.
I can't eat pizza really right now on the diet I'm on. So it's a rough one. But we're working on paleo pizza type things to try to, try to satisfy the urges, as it were.
I gotta send you. My sister has this this. I don't know. We call it the healthy pizza. It's only healthy from like the ingredients that it uses. It's still like a crazy calorie bomb. So you're definitely gonna get fat if you eat these all the time. But like. It might fit your restriction. We'll have to send it to you. It's very good. It's kind of its own thing, but it's very tasty.
I'll give it a shot. I'll give anything a shot. Aaron wants to point out that and he's referring to the automaton. The Maris one was the highlight of NAMM for me. Yeah, CXM definitely, like, hearing the prototype, that was like, okay, I'm ready for this.
Yes, my body is ready.
But at the same time, I don't even know if it was like, I don't even know how ready it was, because when the Preamp Mark II prototype was shown last year, I couldn't even get like 10 seconds with it. People were just spending way too much time checking it out. And I remember saying to Joel, I was like, man, I hope I'll be able to like play that sometime this weekend. And he's like, you know what? I'd really rather you just wait. And I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah, it's not quite there yet. Like, we got to do something with, I couldn't remember if it was something with the mid-range control or if it was something in the highs that, like, whatever they had thrown together, it worked and it was functional, but it wasn't quite what they wanted it to be. And then, of course, everything that, they had to end up hiring Charlie on to engineer for the flying faders portion of it. It's like, okay, I understand why you would want to wait. And I'm almost at this point where I'm wondering, okay, where it was at NAMM was pretty great. Where's it going to be when it's finally like in a box and in my hands? And I think, in a way, after watching the knobs video, it's probably going to be like 10 times better.
I mean, they spent so much more time on it. They were posting updates, and I know the Maris people too, and I feel like that you're right about that. I feel like it was maybe like 40% of the way there, maybe 60% of the way there when we saw it. I feel like it's
one more quick shout out to our friends.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Amazing people.
But yeah, what you were saying about how feeling you felt the same way.
Yeah, I didn't feel that way at NAMM, but after like talking to them and like watching what they were doing, I was like, oh, they're actually not even close on this thing yet. They've got way bigger plans up their sleeve. So I'm very excited to see what the actual final product is, because
yeah, definitely. The way that I'm looking at it is like, obviously people are immediately gravitating towards the bag, which is it's big, obviously. But the way that I'm kind of looking at it is, this is something that we like to joke about, how pedals kind of are like, the pedals are basically the rack effects of the 80s now in a stomp box.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like 10 times more flexible and they sound 10 times better. But with what I feel like what we're going to get with CXM is it's going to be something that we can at once, in one instance, place it on a pedal board, and it will interface exactly like we would expect a pedal to interface with our guitar and whatever other pedals we have on the board. But then at the same time, we could very easily take it, mount it to our recording desk, hook it up in a rack some way. And it's like, I don't know how many people are familiar with the old Lexicon PCM reverbs, but they essentially had controllers, and it with the unit would be in the wall, and then have a box very similar to the automaton enclosure with faders on it that controlled your parameters. So you'd be sitting at your mixing desk, you'd patch in the Lexicon reverb, and you'd be using the faders to manipulate the sound. And that's basically what I feel like automaton is going to do. It's going to eliminate the rack unit, place the rack unit inside an enclosure this size, but it also has the controller for it. So I don't think for CXM that the audience is purely a guitar player. I see a recording studio being just as big of a market for it as it will be for whatever guitar player chooses to place it on their board.
100%. I mean, and people have been talking about this like, oh, wow, that's such an expensive guitar pedal. And I'm like, if you think it's just a guitar pedal, you're missing the point, because it's actually a relatively inexpensive piece of studio hardware if you look at it through that lens. Like, that's the weird divide where, like, I'm not saying it's cheap. It's not cheap. It's an expensive piece of gear. Mm-hmm. But, like, if you only view it as a pedal, then it's probably not even worth it for you. There are a ton of great reverbs that you can get. You can get the Empress, or you can get a different one. You can get Joel's Dark World. You can get so many different ones that probably will serve you better if you're only looking for a really cool reverb pedal. Mm-hmm. You got to look at all the other capabilities they built into it and what they really intended it for, and it almost makes more sense as a piece of studio outboard gear than it does as a pedal by itself.
Yeah, that's true. And I know a lot of people will probably take the suggestion of, like, this was the complaint that I heard about Dark World. It's not stereo.
Okay. All right.
And it's like, okay, like, most of us don't play in stereo anyway, so nobody really cares. Excuse me. Lights shining in my face, everybody, making sure that I look pretty for you all.
Which I didn't worry about, as you can tell.
That's okay. That's okay. Aaron has a good question. Does an RE20 count since Roland is Boss? Would we count the RE20 Space Echo as a Boss pedal? I'm gonna say yes, because I think the Space Echo pedal was actually marketed as a Boss twin pedal.
It was. That's a good question. I guess it counts. Sort of counts. I never really thought about it that way. What does my opinion matter anyway?
Well, you're the one asking people what their favorite Boss pedal is.
That is true. Yeah, that's true.
Speaking of which, no, never mind.
Okay,
not gonna do that for you. So what do you say? Should we consider it a Boss pedal?
I think so. I think so. It's not like it didn't go through the same manufacturing chain. Like, I'm sure it did.
Mm-hmm.
It counts. It counts.
Yes, I agree. Okay, so there you go, Aaron. RE20, it's a Boss pedal. Oof, man. How are you feeling about the new Boss stuff that's been coming out?
I mean, I'm a big Boss fan. I really like that company quite a bit. It's part of the reason, once that question was suggested, I continued to ask it. It probably sounds like they're sponsoring the podcast. They're super not. But you can if you want, Boss. I'm all ears. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Mm-hmm. But, like, I don't know. I saw the looper that they just came out with, and I thought it was really, really cool. But I just don't think I'm the intended target. I don't see myself ever using it in that way. But that said, I have a blooper, and so I'm like, maybe my needs are met. And I just don't. I know those are way different, and they have a whole bunch of other things. They can both do things that the other can't. but like I just don't know if I'm the intended target for the boss one.
Yeah, I'm really stoked on obviously the OC5.
That's rad.
I've been an OC2 fanatic for years, and I actually, and I hate to admit this, but I staunchly, when the OC3 came out, was against it because it was like, no, this is not how you improve the OC2. No, I disagree, boss. Stop doing this. And I played the OC3 and it sounded okay, but it didn't have the magic that the OC2 has. There's just something about the way that pedal does its thing that just nothing else sounds like it. Not even clones of it really sound like it, in my opinion. And I would even argue, because I've done the side-by-side test in person, that there is a difference between the OC2 Octaver and the OC2 Octave.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up buying the one with the ER at the end.
Right.
That's the one I like. So I'm really into that just because they actually did what they should have done with the OC3, and that's take the OC2 and actually really improve on what that does already. But I think at the time, because the POG had come out, like everybody was hot on polyphonic octave effects. And so I think that's probably why they ended up doing what they did. But now finally, like with the OC5, we have that mode that if you just want that sound of the OC2, you can have it. So I'm pretty stoked on that.
It looks like a really fun pedal. I always forget how much I like octave effects, like digital octave effects and things like that. Which I don't know why, because like one of my first like moments was with a whammy. I was just like, whoa, like this is amazing. Pedals are the coolest thing ever. And then like I kind of like put octave effects out of my brain until I play them. And I'm like, oh, I forgot. Like these are absolutely some of the most fun you can have is like with octave up and octave downs. And some people are like, they always want to know, how does it track? How does it track? I'm like, sometimes the ones that don't track as well are more fun. Like that's like part of the charm with them. So, I get the need for accuracy and the desire for accuracy, but what I love about the original whammies and stuff is that they're just not quite. There's just a little something there that's not quite there, and it makes it cooler to me.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the brilliant things that they did with the most recent iteration of the whammy is they gave you the option of having that original kind of glitchy thing, but then you could, if you wanted the polyphonic stuff, you could lapse it into a more modern mode that would allow you to do that.
Mm-hmm. That's the version I have too, and I think it's the best whammy that's been put out for that reason. You can have your cake and eat it too.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
I do love cake, so that's that. Have you given any of like the GT1000 stuff a try? Because they basically just did their like HX stomp with the core.
Yeah, no. None of that stuff really appeals to me all that much, but I understand why people do like it. I've said this on the podcast a lot. I get why people like the HX Stomp. I get why they like these really great multi-effects, because they are really great, and they're extremely useful tools. But if you can't tell, I'm spoiled. I have no need for any of that stuff. I can turn up as loud as I want at almost any hour of the day. I have a lot of pedals. I love the adult Lego aspect of like unplugging things and collecting things, and I love pedals so much. I just like those type of things have never appealed to me. Now, if I was somebody gigging every week or getting on planes or whatever, like if I was doing all that stuff, absolutely I would have something like that and be interested in it. But for me, in my very unique special situation, I don't care, and I have other things I need to spend time on. So I've just never messed with it. Not for any length of time. Like I've played most of them, but not the new boss one that just got released, obviously. But like I played almost all of them, and I'm like, they're cool. They work well. Impressive engineering. I don't need it.
Yeah.
So
happens a lot with everything. I think that is one of the curses that we end up with as like the media that covers this stuff. Is it's all out there, and it's possible for us to get it, and it's possible for us to try the stuff. But at this very same time, at the core of it, we're also guitar players too. And our tastes inform often our professional opinion of things. So you could probably try out exactly what we've been talking about, the GT1000, and enjoy it. But what's going to probably have that little slight bit of disconnect for you is the fact that in your everyday life, you're probably not going to have a use for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's just it. And now I think I've said this on the podcast before too, but like, had the Helix stuff existed at the level that it is, had the Boss stuff existed at the level that it is, and been as accessible, when I built this building, I may not have built this building. I may have been like, oh, wait, it makes way more sense just to do it all here. Then the family's happy. They don't have to hear me ripping through a fully cranked amp. But instead, that stuff didn't exist. It really wasn't an option. And so I was like, well, if I want to get the sounds that I'm trying to get, I'm going to have to take it into my own little studio. And so I built this place and haven't really needed any of it ever since. That said, it's not a very like logical or financially like great idea to spend thousands of dollars on a building when you could spend $1,000 or less on a modeling platform. So I get why for most people that's a much better option.
Hey, look, at the end of the day, you have a place that you can do the stuff. You know, you have your guitars out and they're ready to go. You have stuff set up and it's ready to go. You don't have to worry about working it in to the flow.
Mm-hmm. It is the best piece of gear that I own, by far.
The best piece of gear I own, everybody, is a building.
It is. It's a magical place. I love it out here.
How long did it take you to make that place?
Well, so I did fast track it a little bit. It would have taken me a lot longer and cost a lot less, but I think it took me probably right around a year to do. And I would have, again, taken longer, but I found out that I was going to have a child and I needed to fast track it. So I hired a guy to help me finish it. I was going to do everything myself and with my friends, but it was like, oh, wow, I need to get this done right now. And so I hired a guy to kick it over the finish line the last few months of the build, basically.
Well, there you go. You got to do what you got to do. You know, it's just a little thing, you know. I'm only having a kid.
Right. Yeah, I feel like I make excuses that I'm like, well, I guess that's a valid excuse. That works.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that. Right. Yeah, of course I will.
But yeah, I'm definitely like a DIY person when it comes to that stuff because it's like I know how to do at least good enough. You know, like I know how to swing a hammer. I can cut boards. Like, let's do it. But yeah, had to call in some reinforcements to help me out.
Got to do what you got to do, man. You know, get it done, and then hey, then you didn't have the whole thing of, can you turn that down? Okay. Can you turn it down? Okay. Can you turn it down? Okay. You're finally like just barely open on the volume. Okay, you're gonna need to stop.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, okay.
All right, fine.
Yeah, strangely enough, this got completed right my first Instagram post. I just remember this day for some reason. I don't know why I remember it so clearly, but it was March 19th of 2015.
Okay.
And I had just started moving stuff out here. Like I just barely finished everything out here to where I could put gear in it. And it was like, excuse me, it was just barely usable. And I'd taken that first photo, and yeah, so the shred shed and like the whole tone mob thing have kind of evolved together. It's been interesting.
All right. Very cool. Very cool. Ah, hey, another little shout out here from Matt Cisterna. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. It's been a long time.
Hello, Matt.
Matt is a viewer from Argentina, also a fellow fan. Dude, I gotta hip you to an Argentinian pedal company that I think you'd really enjoy their stuff.
Tell me more.
There's Matt knows about them, and they'll sometimes pop their heads up in the chat, but they're called Retro Head Effects. I got a couple videos on the channel of their stuff, but give them a look-see, because I got really surprised the other day, guys. For those of you that don't know, I did another round of reverb sales, and it's all up there on my reverb shop if you want to check it out. And I put the guys at the company, I'd done videos for them. They loved them, and they were wanting to like get the pedals out there in the States. Obviously, that's been very hard to do this year.
Right.
So I just decided to put up a couple of them on reverb and sell them, which is exactly what part of what we had planned to do anyway. And not 30 hours after I had put them up for sale, the two sold immediately, and the same person bought both of them. So it's like, I'm very happy to report that Retrohead is getting a little action here in the States. So I know Matt really loves their fuzz called the Toxic Fuzz. I wish, you know what? I have them in the other room. Should I go get them?
Sure, I can fill time.
All right. Blake is going to fill time and do silly things. So, hey, ask him some questions, and he's going to take over the stream for a bit.
Oh, man. Okay. I've never done this before. All right. Well, let's see. If anybody wants to know anything. In the meantime, if you don't know who I am, that's not too surprising. I don't do as much YouTube as Sean does, but I did do, like we talked about earlier in the stream, some of you might have saw, I did do this 30 video in 30-day challenge, and I put up some, like, you know, I don't think they're the greatest videos on YouTube, but they were pretty fun, and I was really happy with how the majority of them came out. And so you can slide over to the Tone Mob on YouTube and check it out if that's your thing. But yeah, otherwise I have a podcast that I interview guitar people on. I just interviewed Sean for this week's episode, and it was a really important episode in my opinion. Not all of them they're all fun, but they're not all important. And Sean was talking about some things that are near and dear to his heart regarding California's AB5 and the PRO Act and how that can impact musicians. I'm sure he's talked about it here before. Him and I have talked about it on Facebook a lot, and it was a really interesting episode. So if you're curious, you can go over to wherever you get your podcast, type in the Tone Mob, and it'll be there. What else should I do to fill time? I got something to show you. Check this out. I did a video on this pedal, since we're talking about it. This is the Low Sounds Atari Fuzz. Single knob, just how loud do you want it? Responds well to your volume knob on your guitar, and plus it's in a old Atari case.
Oh,
why would you not want that? This thing's a lot of fun.
That is so cool.
Oh, dude, yeah. Oh, I'm so excited for this episode to come out too. Aisha was so fun to talk to. We really hit it off, and this pedal's really cool.
Nice. So. So we've got some more people joining in, which is awesome. Janice Lala is here. Hi, Janice. Glad to have you here.
Hello, Janice.
And then we also have Mr. Bent Tom going in. Oh, man, he has a working Atari 2600 at home. Very, very cool. And also I didn't. So this is a weird thing. Ben has the Tone Mob Fuzz pedal, by the way.
Oh, he does. Oh, sweet.
Yeah, the model 001.
Nice.
So,
is it the germanium one or the regular one?
I think it's the regular one. So,
Okay.
so fun little story about that connection. Do you remember a podcast called The Ruffian Show?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay. So Dan and I did an episode together, and then a few months afterward, we met up at a guitar show in LA. And he said, "Hey, I have a pedal that I think that you should check out. It'd be awesome if you could do a video." And it ended up being that model 001 Tone Mob Fuzz.
Okay.
I played it. It was good. It wasn't quite what I was expecting it to be, but then right when I got it, it was like, "Oh, hey, look at me. I get to like get paid to do videos now. This is kind of cool. I don't have much time to do videos for fun or
Right.
just because I want to anymore." And so it kind of just sat in the closet. I'd pull it out every once in a while. And then pretty much after the Fuzz Bender that Keeley put out came out, I was like, okay, I'm done. I don't need fuzz pedals for a while. And then Ben has always staunchly been, he's not a fuzz guy
Okay.
at all. So during the NAMM show, funnily enough, he was staying very close by to where I live for the NAMM show. So he came over, I rounded up all my fuzz pedals that I had, and then he came over, he played through all of them, we're plugging them in, plugging out. He ended up liking the Tone Mob Fuzz. And so
Nice.
he now has that pedal. It took a while to get to him, but you know, it was a very fun little like, well, I'm glad somebody can find some use out of that.
That's awesome. I never know where those are gonna end up, and it's that was a really fun project to get to do. And there's probably between all of the versions, I'd have to go back and like double check, but between all the versions, there's probably there's less than 200, but it's probably like 175, 180 of them out there between all the versions. So they're not the most common thing in the world, but
right.
I was really happy with them. The GE actually, which was the last one we did, ended up being my favorite. The other versions are just different aesthetically. They're all the same inside, but the GE is the purple and gold. And I have a feeling that you would like that one better as well.
Well, I have eyes for that germanium Pelotar right now.
Ooh, yeah, you do.
Ugh.
The thing's so good, man.
Oh God,
Killing
me over here. But there's even less of these in the world. So first off, Retrohead, based out of Argentina, does full color printed boxes for all their stuff.
Nice. I love that.
Really super high quality, like not flimsy cardboard, not super thick cardboard, but like the printing quality is really good. So this is their Mystic Drive, which has Rasputin on it.
Okay, nice.
This is how all their pedals come. Like all of them come in their own little like pedal sack. Then they have a user manual, warranty card, all sorts of other stuff. But then one of the things that I think is really awesome is they went old school and they send you like recall sheets for you to like write down the settings that you like so much. So I
old school.
So all their pedals basically, you know, come like that. And so I really like how much effort they go to, despite the fact that, and I've talked to the guys, obviously, you know, they've sent me pedals to sell on their behalf. But what I really like about what they do is that, you know, although things are kind of tough economically in Argentina from time to time, and, you know, they're really trying to put out something really, really special. And I think that they do. So this is the Mystic Drive.
Ooh, that looks really good.
So basically it's a germanium. There's 3 germanium transistors in this, and it's an overdrive distortion. It says drive, but it's an overdrive distortion fuzz. Just to the point of like teetering into the like fuzz distortion kind of category.
Yeah. I'm about that.
Input, gain, and bias controls. 3-way toggles for the higher frequencies and the low frequencies that can basically take it from, there's settings where you can make this sound like a cranked small amp. There's settings where it's like a great dirty boost. You can make it sound like an Octavia, or you can have this really weird sub-octave effect that kind of glitches out from time to time. I've wanted to put this on the board for a while. It's just been more like, where exactly do I want to use this? And I don't really know, but it's really cool. And I have do I have another one right now? No, I have another toxic fuzz right now. But who actually has the other one of these is Mike Adams, Pusheen.
Oh, yep.
I gave him a couple of these pedals to check out like last year, and I was supposed to get them back from him at NAMM. Never ended up happening, and that's my fault. But yeah, I like that a lot. So then this is the one that Matt was talking about that he likes a lot. This is the Toxic Fuzz.
Ooh, that looks fun.
It is.
Yeah. Okay.
So you can basically like control like the clipping of the circuit. There's all these different compression and like gain structure settings, EQ stuff that you can do with it. This was for about a year. It's not a small pedal. Like you can, I'll even put it up next to the Automaton for reference.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's a pretty big pedal. Yeah.
It's a large pedal. But for about a year, this was the fuzz that I used all the time because there's just so many things that you can do with it. I do have another one of these right now, but I already have had a guy message after the first one sold. He's like, "Oh man, I really liked that," and I'm like, "Well, I have another one, so keep your eyes peeled for it." But we actually ended up selling one of these back in October to the guy who plays guitar now for that old psychedelic rock band Strawberry Alarm Clock.
I'm not familiar with them.
They did that song Incense and Peppermints.
Okay.
So he plays guitar for them now, and he played this at it was the LA Amp show, and he liked it so much he bought it off me. So, yeah, good enough for if anybody's going to know anything about Fuzz, it's going to be a psychedelic rock band, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's cool.
And then the third one they sent me, same kind of idea. This is their Cosmic Phaser.
Ooh, now that looks even more like my business.
So,
I love that.
Dude, this thing is so whacktastic. I don't even know where to begin with it. They do also, for the Toxic Fuzz, all their pedals, they also include like factory presets, that they come up with. This one, you can definitely use those as a starting point, but it's got this random waveform that you can collapse it into. That when you time it up just right, it's like a step filter and whatnot. And it's just so good. It has an expression pedal control on it.
I was gonna ask you. I saw another jack there, so that's what that is.
I don't know 100%. I can't remember 100%. They sent me some videos about using an expression pedal with it. But you can also lapse it into a mode to work it like an optical tremolo.
Oh, cool.
You can set the center point of the waveform, which is really fun. Resonance, feedback, and all kinds of weird stuff. It's the fact that it's got an astronaut on it is pretty fitting for this pedal.
Man, that looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, dude. I I should probably try to get you guys in touch because they could really use some extra exposure, and I just think that they make some of the most adventurous stuff that you find outside the U.S. I know Matt was saying like here in the States we have so many different kinds of pedals because I guess we are very lucky in that way. Like our country's just set up that we can basically any crazy idea. Can I make money off of this? And
Right.
people are kind of allowed to do that, but they make some really awesome stuff. I'll send you a couple links and you can, check it out as you will.
Yeah, that looks like a lot of fun.
Matt actually has a pretty good question. I don't know if you answered this, but Matt is asking, are you a luthier or something? Sorry for my ignorance. I asked due to the guitars that you have behind you.
I am super not a luthier at all, but I know a lot of them.
Oh, yeah.
So actually, it's kind of funny that these would be the ones that are in frame. So this one here is my Carmine Street Jazzmaster.
Here, I'm gonna go ahead and make you a solo right there.
Okay, there we go. So that's what's funny. You ask if I'm a luthier because these are all made by like small manufacturers, except for the well, I'm getting confused. The bass there, that's a Mexican Fender bass, but that is a Millimetric Instruments baritone he's a builder out of Canada, Florida. Florian's doing really cool stuff. Then, since you watch Sean's channel, you're probably familiar with the Jennings Navigator right next to it. And then the one on the other side is my Equitz Rayburn. They're all very small builders doing really cool things. So you can look into that if you would like. But no, I am a podcaster. I interview guitar people about guitar things. Sean was recently on the show, and I believe I've actually had every single one of those individuals on my podcast at some point. So that's my story. It's called the Tone Mob Podcast, and I talk about random things with guitar people. That's basically what I do.
Guys, I think we're going to have to bail pretty soon because, oh my God, trouble has found us. It is Quentin James.
Hello,
everybody
Quentin
run.
James.
Duck and cover. He's just here to cause trouble, isn't he?
Oh, aren't we all?
Oh, yeah. It is pretty cool. Like you've had all those guys on the show, and it's like I know we had Chad on the channel, and it's like I think actually the first time I met Kevin from Equitz was at like your pizza party.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
It was either that or a 60 cycle party or something like that.
Yeah, he's very involved in the podcast community, so I wouldn't be surprised at either of those things.
Didn't he just within the last year and a half or so move to Nashville or something like that?
I think it's been a little bit longer than that, but yeah, he's in Nashville now. He was in SoCal pretty much as long as I knew of him. That's where he built that red guitar. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he's been in Nashville. It's been really kind of weird because like I go to Anaheim to do guitar stuff, and we went to Kevin's house like later to pick that guitar up. And then like fast forward a few months, and I was in Nashville, and then we were getting dinner with Kevin because he now lived there. It was just like different coasts, but yeah, same Kevin. He's amazing. Kevin's so cool, and his guitars are way legit. They're so good.
He makes some of the more, I would say, amongst most of us within the guitar YouTubing and podcasting, I would say more so in the podcasting. I don't notice this so much in the YouTube community, but you guys are definitely much more in touch with the smaller builders. And it's because of my proximity to so many of you guys and the relationships that I have with you guys that I know about a lot of the smaller guitar builders. I think like the first finding out about Cower guitars was through 60 Cycle Hum. Finding out Equitz was from you. But yeah, his stuff, he makes probably some of the more unique guitars that don't veer into that territory of just looking weird for the sake of looking weird.
Right.
I know that there's plenty of great boutique guitar builders out there, as we saw by the Boutique Guitars Showcase at NAMM this year. Some of them look really awesome, and some of them play really great, and others just look like a museum piece.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's one thing that actually Florian, some of his models, they're definitely not traditional looking. Like, you can look at that guitar and it looks weird, right? It's weird, but to me it's very aesthetically pleasing. Some of his other ones are more modern and more out there, and they're not quite for me. But that one, I saw it when he made that model. I was like, oh, there's that. That's for me. That is a guitar.
That's a thing. That's a thing that I need to have.
Yes. Nice. It's just out there enough that it's like unique, but it's like, that looks like a guitar though. that's always the tough line to straddle.
I think one of the builders that recently has come into our sort of collective consciousness, if you will, has been Baranek, where he makes a guitar that looks totally unique, but it still looks and can function like an instrument.
Yes.
I'd say the only thing for me that first playing it was, like, I played the Mood guitar at NAMM, and it was like, oh my God, the pickup switch is on a dial. This is crazy. Right. That's nutso. So, it's like, oh, heat of the moment, you can't exactly switch, but it's like, but you know what? It works, and it's different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if it's because he listened to Joel's episode or what, but yeah, he recently reached out. He's been listening to a lot of the podcast, I guess. So he reached out about your episode, and he's like went out of his way to message me about things.
Wow.
So I'm excited to have him on it at some point and talk about his design concepts for sure.
Yeah, he's actually, I think he's Central Coast here in California.
I think so.
So he's not terribly far, but we've one of the things that I wanted to do this year that Rona ruined is #Rona ruined. That should be
no kidding.
Trademarking, and I'm going to make a t-shirt of it. Rona ruined this concept I had of like doing a road show, and we did some episodes. We did a show with Justin Abernethy from Abernethy Guitars.
Oh, so good.
I went and visited him at his shop and in his home, and that was just like so cool. His wife was very kind. He was very awesome to have on. He was very nice to us as well. His daughter's adorable. Very sweet little girl. Then we visited my friend Mike Peterson with Map Guitars up in wine country. He was just starting to get back into the game a little bit. He's been building a little bit more during this time, which is great because he was another builder like, wow, you're making some really good stuff, and you deserve to, like, people need to know about this. And he's very much like a guy he doesn't like to put a whole lot of fancy finishes on his guitars because he has a really insane wood library. Like the stuff that I saw at his shop, it's like, oh yeah, you don't want to put anything on that. That's a clear coat, and that's it.
Right.
And then we did an episode with Chad, and then shut down.
It ruined everything.
Yeah, everything. I was talking with people like going and visiting the cats at Strymon. Actually, funnily enough, it was going to be around the time I think of the Compadre release, was about when we were thinking things were gonna fall in line. Who else? I was talking to a bunch of people about coming and visiting, and just can't do that anymore.
Yeah, you've got a lot of people down there you could visit that are, relatively easy to get to,
Yeah. I think at this point, it all has to do with just everybody's personal comfort with everything. And I don't want to get into a discussion about, the virus and how everybody handles themselves during this period. But I have noticed, like, with other YouTubers, other podcasts, there's definitely been, like, people feel a little bit more comfortable being around each other. There's not a whole lot of, I would say, fear as much as there was like right at the outset of it. Like I've even had people say to me like, oh, we should have you at the shop sometime. And it's like,
right.
Yeah, I suppose that would be okay. But at the same time, it's like, you just never know. So you gotta
Right.
play your cards right and just hope for the best. But yeah, it's been interesting to see, like, for a while, it's like, all right, we're getting back into the swing of things. Let's play it really, really safe. And now, like, that, it seems like everybody's getting a little bit more comfortable with each other.
Well, in the beginning, it was like one of those weird things where we just, we're just learning more every day, right?
Yeah.
And in the beginning, it was like, oh, I don't know, should I like not hug my wife? I don't know what is going on. Like, not really, but like I was kind of like, I don't know I don't know. Is it the Black Plague? What's going
Yeah,
going
right.
on? And now that we kind of know, like, it's bad, but we kind of understand it better, and we're understanding it better all the time. It's like, okay, well, we can do certain things safely. Like when I was in Nashville, that was my first experience, leaving and going anywhere. And that was really weird, but the airline handled things pretty well. I had all kinds of space around me. And then like I went to Grant and Karen's and did some podcasting with a bunch of pedal builders, which that's going to come out here pretty soon. And, we're all like outside 10 plus feet apart, and Grant had everything set up beforehand, and I felt completely safe doing that. There was no, it was fine. Basically, my point is, like, we're starting to figure out like ways we can be responsible and still get the job done. I think what the message is, and everyone's kind of figuring that out.
Quentin, I feel bad for calling you trouble. Rona gave me another reason to hate people, except for Sean. I love me some Sean. Oh, you always find a way back into my heart, you rat bastard.
Oh man, sounds like an abusive relationship to me, to be honest. I don't know about this.
It's totally not. We just rag on him, and he rags on us. It's a collective taking the piss out of each other.
I like it. That's great. That's what it's all about.
Well, with this fallout of Rona, and we're getting to a point where we should probably be wrapping this up because you're hungry, I'm getting hungry. It's about that time. Now that we're kind of like trying to push forward now, we both have our platforms of what we're going to be doing and what we think is going to be happening. But then NAMM is gone,
right?
Which is usually where we kind of congregate and we brainstorm and possibly collaborate on stuff. What's your opinion on the cancellation of NAMM, and what do you think we can do? What is it that you're hoping we will do as an industry to like make the best of a bad situation?
Oh boy, I know we're going to try to wrap up, but this is a bit of a can of worms for me. So,
okay,
as somebody who so first of all, I love the social aspect of NAMM. I love that we get to see everybody. I get to see you. I get to see all these people that I talk to on the internet or on the phone all year long, and see them in person and hang out. And it's wonderful. That aspect is fantastic. However, I get asked all the time as part of my working with these companies, do you think we should go to NAMM?
Oh my God.
And my response to that is always basically the same. It's like, do you think that there's a more effective way that you could spend marketing dollars? You basically, for the most people, unless you're splitting a booth and all this other stuff, if you're getting a booth and hiring, having your employees come out and all that stuff, it's $10,000. That's about it's $8,000 to $10,000
minimum
on the
minimum
cheap side.
$10,000. Yeah.
I mean, for instance, I tried to do. I don't know if you were there. There was a lot of people there, but I kind of did a renegade version of the pizza party here, not last year, but the year before. We were just on the sidewalk.
Where we were out. Yes, I was there.
Yeah, I thought so. So the reason for that was, clearly, as you could see there, we had outgrown the restaurant. We were not going to fit in that restaurant anymore. There was probably almost 100 people there or so. And I tried to do like the normal, legit, like responsible thing and like get a room at NAMM, either at the convention center or at somewhere around there. Basically, for an hour or two, it was going to end up costing me about $4,000. And I was like, And I was like talking back and forth with the NAM. I'm like, really? $4,000? Like, that's why I was like, nah, we're just gonna do it on the sidewalk. Like, I'm not gonna pay that kind of money for that. Like, it would made no sense at all. And so, all that to say is, I think NAM is an archaic business model for the organization itself. People basically know all the stuff that's coming out before it happens anyway. Everyone's watching the videos on the internet anyway. So I would be sad to see it go away, and I'll be sad in January to not be visiting from a social aspect, but I won't be sad from a business perspective, from like the businesses that I advise. I'm just like, no, we can spend that money much more effectively on direct Facebook advertising, on paying guys like you to do videos, like on creative ways to leverage that stuff. It's much more effective. It's much more effective, and it's measurable. NAM's like, maybe it worked. I don't know. Like, sometimes it's like, oh yeah, this rock star came by and played my stuff, and now he's an artist, and like that's a measurable thing, but you can't control that. That's like a $10,000 plus gamble. So my opinion is that I think for the smaller and maybe even for the larger gear manufacturers, it's actually going to possibly be a good thing that that's not happening.
Yeah.
As long as they take those funds they've allocated for it and channel them into more effective ways, I think they'll see a measurable return as long as they do that.
I think we have different angles of how we get to that, but from what you're saying, I think our perspectives are pretty much in line with each other, because I've been feeling the same way, where it's just like, I don't know whether or not NAM is necessarily archaic in the way that they do stuff, because I do think that there is a benefit to the trade show like format. But I think what instead NAM needs to do is they need to treat it less like a trade show, and they need to treat it more like a conference. And they need to give more benefit to the education things that they do, and place more because the keynotes and the lectures that they actually do are actually really good. You just don't know about it because you're bombarded by the gear all the time. So I think if they actually put more behind the keynotes, the panels, this, that, and the other, and had bigger venues to host it in, I think that would end up doing a lot better for them than how they currently do it. And obviously now, spoiler alerts for everybody watching right now, I am working on a plan for a virtual NAM experience here on the channel this coming January. It's in the very early stages, but one of the things that I'm looking at is the idea of bringing like value by having people from the company interfacing with me directly. But then if we're going to bring multiple people on, like placing as much emphasis on that as would be on the gear. And that's something that I just don't know if NAM is really going to be able to do.
I don't know if they're really going to be able to do it either, because at the end of the day, like, while it should be treated more like a conference, it is ultimately a trade show that is paid for by the gear companies. And so the emphasis kind of has to be on the gear companies, because if it wasn't, why would they come at all?
Well, the money also comes from people like me who give NAM $200 every year just to be called a member of NAM. Oh, we got a couple more people joining in. It looks like Matt's just left. Matt's, good to have you back for a live stream, buddy. Come back again soon. Jay Steen has joined in, and just as we're about to wrap everything up, it's good to see you, buddy. And Gillis DeBilio here. Oh, look at this. He's got a little perspective for us. Little comparison. The Montreal Car Show usually is the biggest convention hall of the city. A few months ago, they canceled the event and found a way to have it online for free. NAM can find the way. They do, and they are going to be doing their own thing. They're calling it Believe in Music. So it's going to be like a week-long virtual thing. I'm hearing rumors about how they're going to make it beneficial for dealers and buyers in order to interface in some sort of e-commerce kind of way. But since that's not my field, my thing is like, well, how's the media going to be able to cover this? And unfortunately, as of right now, I just don't see how it's going to do.
Yeah, I don't either. They haven't been super clear on all that yet, at least from my perspective.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, they've got to do something, and as the benefit that NAMM has had with being like in January with all this happening is they can see how other events have done it now, and maybe try to make something that would work for them. So I'll be very curious to see what happens.
Hopefully, Jay gives his opinion that Sweetwater tried to do it with Gear Fest and it didn't work out very well for them. I don't know. I guess the only reason I wouldn't say that it worked out is because I didn't really pay attention to it.
I didn't know it happened, so that sucks.
There you go. And you even have Sweetwater affiliate links.
I know Sweetwater people. They didn't tell me anything about Gear Fest.
Y'all should be hooked up, and you should be in the know, and you didn't.
I didn't. I knew about Guitar Month. I definitely knew about that.
Yes. Gotta read that ad copy.
That's right. I'm all about it.
Awesome. All right, dudes. Well, it's getting to be about that time. Blake, dude, thanks so much for coming on. I really, really appreciate it. And I appreciate you having me on your show as well. I will give you this opportunity to put up your billboard here today for the folks watching at home.
Oh man, I didn't think that was going to happen. Let's see. First of all, I've always thought if I was given this opportunity on somebody else's platform that I would do a little more than just plug my stuff. And I think I'm going to do that because I'm going to plug my stuff, but also be nice to each other. There's been a lot of garbage online, offline, whatever. There's been a lot of garbage going on, and everybody needs to remember that you're talking to another person when you're leaving those comments and when you're doing the thing. Knock it off, or I'll find you.
What this guy is saying. What this guy is saying.
Be nice. Be nice to people on the internet and off the internet. And then for the plugs, you can find all my stuff pretty much anywhere. If you search Tone Mob, it should come up. I'm at the Tone Mob on Instagram, the Tone Mob podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, and the Tone Mob on YouTube. And I've got a Facebook group called the Tone Mob. So Tone Mob, Tone Mob, Tone Mob, Tone Mob. You'll find it.
Which I am usually interacting in, and I have refrained from sharing any of my videos in recently because I feel like sometimes those are my only interactions in the group, it feels like. And it's like, that's just not cool. That's not cool. That's not how you become a good citizen of a group.
Right.
Oh,
thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. Man.
It's awesome to have you. Thank you so much for it. And to all of you watching, thank you so much. If this was your first time, welcome to the crew. If you're returning, it's always great to have you all. If you haven't done so already, please click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Just so you guys know, there will be no episode of Stompbox Saturday this weekend, just given things that have happened this week. I think we all just need to spend some time with our guitars and finding that pure human joy that Ed was able to bring to the instrument. So for Blake from the Tone Mob, I'm Sean Pierce Johnson. I will see you guys same bat time, same bat channel next week for SPJ Live. And until then, my friends, take care. I wish you great tone, good health, and happy stomping. God bless you guys. I'll see you next week.